this again. This is a really fun topic. This was actually suggested by Spencer, if memory serves me.
Yes. Is Spencer here?
No, apparently Spencer.
He was all thinking about food and he's not here.
And starting off, the topic is awesome. Where would you travel back to? And this is not a COVID discussion. This is nothing to do. This is COVID neutral. You know, just for the freaking food. So that's the topic. And in the room, of course, we have Diana. We have a special guest, Amber Mack, one of my all-time favorite friends. She has got long, deep history in technology and has the best podcast I've ever listened to. Super interesting. And of course, I have Spud.
The best podcast.
Oh shit!
Oh no!
It's okay.
No, hers is about technology. Yours is about travel or crazy travel, which I absolutely love. All right, I like both your podcasts. We have Michael Hurst in the room. Nice to see you, Michael. And
good to see you.
And Thomas, who I get,
really cool,
and Sydne, and of course our returning champion Robert Eakins. And there's Dirk. Nice to see you, my manufacturer. So, who wants to start? And friend, by the way, not only my manufacturer. Where would you travel? Let's start with Amber, if you don't mind. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure.
Name your podcast first, and then tell us where you would travel just for the food and why, and if you have a picture.
Okay, so my podcast that I just launched in September is called The Amber Mack Show, so super easy to remember. And the most recent episode, we got a chance to dive into algorithms and explain how algorithms basically influence our lives on social media. It's about 30 minutes long, and if you guys want to check it out, that's great. In terms of where I would travel, I've traveled so much over the years, and this is kind of a strange answer, but I'm from Prince Edward Island, Canada, and that's where my family is, and it's one of my favorite places to go as a food destination. If you've ever been there, you know that they have the best seafood ever. It's the kind of place where you drive up and you go towards the ocean and drive up on the wharf, and then you buy lobster from the lobster fishermen. You take it home, you cook it, you eat it. It's so fresh. So for me, that would be my go-to right now if I could get on a plane and go anywhere.
That sounds amazing. And are there restaurants in particular, or just the whole region, would you say?
I would say the whole region, but if you're in Charlottetown, then there's a great restaurant called the Prince Corner Shop, I believe the name is. And it's the same sort of idea where you go into the restaurant, and even though it's a restaurant, you sort of feel like you're on the lobster wharf, in the sense that the food is really fresh. They have picnic tables and it's very casual. And that is one of my favorite places as well.
Well, that is awesome. Do you happen to have a picture that you'd be willing to share? You want to dig it up?
I'll dig it up. Yeah, I'll find something.
That is an awesome story. I love learning. Oh, look at this. I am about to figure this shit out. So look at me. I was logged in as the wrong user. I was logged in as me personally, rather than as the company. So I'm about to figure it out. But while I do that last bit, does anyone else want to volunteer to say where you would travel just for the food?
Yeah, I'll go, Scott.
Bring it on.
All right,
I'd love to go back to, my wife and I spent a wonderful time in Hong Kong about 20 years ago. And we also got to take a hovercraft over to Macau to the casinos and had some of the most fabulous Chinese food you'd ever have in your life.
What year was that?
Gosh, that would have been 1993, 94.
Wow.
That's a lot has changed since then.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it was. But incredible city, and eating the street food in Hong Kong is just something you got to do.
You got to avoid the wet markets, but aside from that, Hong Kong
this was before COVID.
No, Hong Kong's actually on my list, high on my list as well. It's even today. I was there before. I've been there. I go there 3 times a year. Just the most incredible, diverse cuisine. Peking duck in Dunwell in Hong Kong is better than anywhere I've ever had it.
Fishing.
that was me further figuring it out. So just so you know, we figured out all technology issues. So I am set to go. And I apologize yet again. That, you know, one of the things I forgot, it was a podcast that I was on with Gary Arndt and a group, and they asked me about, you know, they interviewed me about Ketchum, and they said, when you talk about where, paint a picture. And that's, so I'm learning, I'm new to podcasting and the whole, you know, technology at the same time. So, you know, can you do me a favor, when you're in Hong Kong and eating that street food, you know, what does it smell like? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And why is it that of all the places, you know, that was the one you chose? Add some flavor to it, if you will.
You know, the spices, the sounds, I mean, it was incredible. You were just overrun with spices coming into your nose, from coriander to chilies to, you know, the blood flavors of freshly cut up chickens and whatnot. And it's just like, it's an amazing overload of your senses, and it wasn't offensive in the least. And, you know, a lot of the people we were on the trip with wouldn't go to the markets. And we said, well, you know, if millions of people are eating in the streets, it's not going to kill us. And we had a great time.
You know, I think Spud can say this, you know, and I know for me, you know, I love food. I don't say that because Spud, you know, Spud and I have dined together in San Francisco on multiple occasions. And I think a lot of the reason people travel is for the dining experience.
Oh, 100%. Yes, absolutely.
And that's what I miss. I'm sick of my same 10 restaurants in my little freaking mountain town. I want to go to San Francisco. I want to, you know, Spud, what's your favorite dining experience?
You mean the one that I would go to another country for?
Yes.
No.
Or it doesn't have to be another country, but
Could
where
be
you
local.
would travel.
Right, sure. No, I think probably the most memorable one that I would love to replicate, although you can't go back again. It was Greece. Anna and I went to Naxos and Paros, and it was just on the shoulder season. So what would have been incredibly crowded restaurants were actually just about empty. So we can walk into any place. I think there's a little bit of context that's important, which is when we went, it was pure vacation. I had not had a pure vacation travel, you know, a pure vacation trip in 8 to 10 years. Literally every trip I went on, there was always going to be notes taken and pictures taken. And it was going to be for some story or some, you know, something down the line. What was great about it is that we'd find ourselves in Paros and Naxos in these tiny little cafes on the waterfront. And I'd point at the bus across the way and say, see that bus? That bus is going to take us to some culturally, historically significant place on the island where there's great ruins and all sorts of other stuff. Or we could stay right here and order another glass of wine. You can guess what we did. We almost to a one every single time. And it was a great place for small food. It wasn't all about getting a giant meal, although we did eat pizza more there, oddly enough. Pizza in Greece, who could figure. But it was, you know, you'd be sitting there and the ocean's lapping up on the beach. The ferries go by every once in a while. And the sunset, you know, in Paros was always amazing. So we'd make sure that we were always at one of those tables at one of the dozens of places along the front there. I have a picture I can sort of share on Instagram, which, by the way, you can find me on all social media at just Spud Hilton. I'm the only one on the planet, of which people are plenty thankful. And the podcast, which is probably not nearly as good as hers, is the Inappropriate Traveler podcast. But here, I don't know if you can...
Back it up. Okay, hold on.
There you go.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, that was one of my favorite shots from that. That was like lunch. It was just a whole bunch of dips and things to put in them, and it was wonderful. I would love to recreate that sometime, but I'm pretty sure the memory will always be better than than the actual. So.
Do you think when you travel moving forward, as we talked about last week, actually, but that you'll go back there, or more importantly, my thought is, will you be able to relax and enjoy the trip the next time? Can you combine your experience of a travel writer, or are you always going to be on and thinking? And how can you get that travel experience that you want?
There's about 4 questions there. I'll try to answer a few of them. As we will travel again, although I wasn't that excited to get on a plane anymore, even before COVID. I've done, for 20 years, I was a writer or editor in the San Francisco Chronicle's travel section, and I've been on plenty of planes. I know what they look like. I know what it feels like to get off of one after 13 hours. And so, I think if we go somewhere, it will be an attempt to still find something new. My wife and I are always of a mind that we could go back to our favorite place in the whole world, or someplace we really like, or we could go someplace new. The one place where that's an exception is New Orleans. We go to New Orleans every other year, and this would have been our year. We always go in October because it's the best time to go. And it's breaking our hearts right now. But everywhere else, we don't go to again if what we want to do is experience something else.
Yeah.
So we will find something else down the line, but neither of us are chomping at the bit to do it. And right now, there aren't a lot of places for me to write an article about anyway. So I'm mostly focusing on San Francisco.
Well, that's awesome. And if you have any more pictures you want to share, we're going to create a highlight reel again and incorporate this into our next newsletter for people who want to join. By the way, I really thoroughly enjoy these. The mask that we designed together with Dirk is now, here's the first full sample. I'm gonna show it off at the end. It's a gator. It's turned out unbelievable. So these sessions have been really helpful for us as a business. And I want to talk about, during the course of this particular one, think about what the next topic that you might be interested in. We might take next Thursday off and revert. Although we have some pretty big announcements involving the medical. All right.
Pretty big announcements right there.
I love it. I just want to show you guys the lobster picture I found.
Yeah.
So this is an example of just kind of, this wasn't direct from the wharf, but PEI lobster is so amazing. So this is just a picture of a friend of mine and her daughter after we picked up some lobsters.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to pin you. I got to pin you.
Oh, okay.
Add pin. Okay,
So,
you're pinned.
Whoa.
You can see the lobsters are bigger than our heads.
Oh, God.
They're giant. So this is my favorite thing to do is just, I'm not a very fancy person. So I kind of like eating on picnic tables and at home and takeout and just even kind of hole in the wall or dive bars. I mean, I love that. So when I travel, I'm not into the 5-star restaurant. I'm into finding that little local food truck or whatever it might be.
How do you find them? I mean, that's do you use Google Maps or do you reach out to your community or?
Yeah, I do. I use Twitter a lot, actually. I'm sure there's other people on here who are on Twitter. I find it to be one of the best ways if I'm going to a new city and I'm looking for that place that isn't as obvious, that doesn't have the perfect reviews on Yelp. I find that's a really good way just to get some recommendations that the locals know.
Well, that's awesome. Diana, I'm sure you've been giving a lot of thought to food always.
The food. Well, being Laura's mother, I would have to say some of my best meals have been had at her house at her big cocktail parties.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do I get points for that, Laura? I hope.
No,
Anyway,
that was gratuitous. That was completely gratuitous.
Too bad. Anyway, I was going to say Southeast Asia, where I can't even, from Burma to Thailand to Laos to Cambodia to Vietnam. They're all wonderful. But then I really thought about it as you're all talking, and I would say Northern India, I had some of the best cuisine I have ever had in my life. and in the hotels we stayed in, I could choose to eat in an American, Italian, or Indian. I never once had American food. I had 3.5 weeks in India. I have never had such good food, which I cannot repeat in Chicago or if anybody has a great Indian restaurant in the States that will allow me in, I would go there. But I would say India.
But I also remember a trip with you and my father, and we were in Bangkok, and my father and I love spicy food. My mom, not so much.
Oh, I do now.
Well, but not as much as the two of us. So we're sitting at lunch, and she is eating this spicy noodle dish, and she's sweating and crying at the same time. And my dad's like, Diana, what's with you? And she's like, it's so spicy. He's like, well, stop eating it. And she's like, but it's so good. And she just keeps eating this. And she was just a mess. It was hilarious.
And the waitress came over. She was so kind. She said, can I get you something? Do you feel okay? I said, I'm fine. I love this. The tears are running down.
They're going down her face.
But the other thing that happened in Southeast Asia, which just happened in Beijing a few years ago, I was on a trip, and it was one of those dinners where they put, the 8 of us were sitting around a table, and the waitress came and put a dish on the table, and she said, it's spicy. And the person across from me got it first, and he said, yeah, it's spicy. Well, Laura, I hate to tell you, I really like spicy food now.
That's because you're older now, and that's the only way you can taste it. That's what you said.
She's mean. I'm disowning you today. So anyway, it got to me, and I ate it, and my vocal cords were paralyzed for about 2 minutes, and they gave me, I drank beer, and in 2 minutes I was able to speak again. So Scott, if you really hate me, you'll get really spicy food, and my vocal cords will be.
And that habanero salsa I made it a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
would be good for that.
That kicked my ass.
That was really good, but yeah, you thought it was too spicy.
Well, I think I've been thinking about this all week, and where I would travel back to, is multiple places. I can't pick one, so I'm just going to straight up. I love the open market in Marrakesh that Laura said. I can't believe you're about. It was in It was in Turkey.
It was not I know what you're talking about. That was not the open market. This was near the waterfront, a single food stand.
Yeah.
Selling mussels. It was not part of an organized.
And it was his last batch. It was done for the day
and
and week.
You're going to end up in the hospital.
So she bet me, and I wanted those mussels because it seemed like what you do when you're in.
That was somewhere in Turkey.
In Turkey,
not sure.
And I'd like to go back to tempt death once more.
And he did not end up in the hospital.
New Orleans, I literally gained 12 pounds there.
He went to a friend's
in a
wedding,
3-day weekend.
3-day weekend, he did.
I gained 12 pounds. I arrived on Thursday, left on Sunday or
something. I think
and I just ate, and anything that was the best, the bread pudding.
The bread pudding souffle at Commander's Palace that we got into a fight because he wouldn't let me order my own. He wanted to share it.
You sit down at the table and they say,
I wanted my own.
Are you going to commit to the bread pudding? And I'm thinking, there's could be a lot of food here. Would you just get one, Laura, and I'll have a bite? And she said, I'll get one, but you're not going to have a bite. So if you want one, you better order your own. And I didn't, and to this day. So I'd go back to New Orleans in a heartbeat.
And order two.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott.
Yes.
One thing, did you go pre-Katrina or post-Katrina?
That was
Pre.
Now,
Has it changed?
Here's the interesting thing, is one of the silver linings for New Orleans is that Katrina ended up making the food so much better in New Orleans.
How?
Because pre-Katrina, it was all the sort of legacy places that were resting on their laurels. It was Commander's Palace, it was Antoine's, it's Galatoire's. And then the other end of the spectrum was the crappy tourist food. And there wasn't a lot in the middle ground. Well, Katrina wiped a lot of people out and made a lot of places available. And there was a lot of investment going on. So suddenly, New Orleans, which did not really have that great middle ground, or even the sort of newer gastropub type hip places boomed with that. And so the food is actually so much better, both in variety and in general quality, than it was pre-Katrina. You need to go back.
Do you think that same event's going to happen throughout the world?
Yes.
I mean, restaurants are hit harder than travel clothing. I mean,
I'm actually working on a speech on exactly that topic, which is whether or not, what are the things that destinations can be sort of monitoring to say, this is what will be better because of this horrific accident. Horrific situation. And I think the food is one of them, and New Orleans is a great example of that.
I'd love to contemplate on a podcast or just brainstorm on about a separate topic. Is how will travel be different post and positively post? I hope if you're writing about it, I think that'd be a column I'd love to read in any newspaper or magazine. People are dying to understand how it's going to be different. So.
The only problem is, and I'll shut up after this. Sorry.
No, it's interesting.
The only problem with that, and I had to write an article for a local magazine. They asked me back in May, what's travel going to look like in 6 months or a year and down the road? And I told them, I'll write something for you, but God's honest truth, all of it is speculation. And anybody who says that they can tell you exactly what it's going to be like is full of crap.
Yeah.
So long as you couch it as, here's what might happen, not here's what's going to happen.
Yeah, but you have more information now. That article would differ now. I'm getting interesting information, like Hawaiian Airlines emailed me today saying, they're testing people,
right,
before the flight, and then there's another.
Well, Alitalia, Lufthansa, a lot of them are starting.
United and their partners are doing the speed testing.
Yes, so
they're going to start having speed testing. Here's the problem. Being that you actually need to check DNA, it can't be done in the time that they're saying. It is not an accurate test. And all it takes is one person to get through and you got an outbreak. So for everything where we think there's light at the end of the tunnel, it might be a train coming the other way. Who knows? But we should have that conversation so long as everybody understands that anybody who says is speculating.
Spencer, this was your idea, so welcome back. You're a returning winner to the contest here. So, what is someone of the
guilty as charged, Scott?
You want to turn your camera on?
So I well, no, my Chromebook will stutter if I turn it on.
Oh,
but we'll shut. Let's see about this.
Oh, there you go.
So. Hello.
Hey, Spencer.
So unfortunately, I missed the beginning of it, but at the risk of sucking up with the evil mother-in-law, I'm looking forward to getting back to Chicago.
Ah.
God.
And what would you eat in Chicago?
I went there once a while back with my wife and had an opportunity to try out one of the deep dish places just east, but I know a number of places that I've yet to get to, including Chicago Oven Grinder and Pizza Company. There was a new burger joint on.
That's Oven Grinder is called Pizza Soup.
Yes.
Hot pie.
Out here on the East Coast. Yes, out here on the East Coast, there is no such animal. I feel it necessary to try something so really decadent at least once in my life, even if it's what that ends it. But there were there's at least one good burger joint, one good barbecue joint. I mean, in terms of places I've been to before, it's Chicago. In terms of places that I've never been to before, it's a toss-up between New Orleans and Toronto.
Oh.
I think Amber's in Toronto.
Yeah, I sure am. Sorry, I just ducked away. I had to get a charger for my laptop because I thought, how embarrassing would that be if the tech person on the call got kicked out and charged my laptop? So I was scurrying around. So I missed the comment about Toronto, but yes, I live in Toronto, and if it's about the food scene here, I was just going to say that it is fantastic. Especially, you can get any type of food, but the Indian food here is fabulous as well.
That's what I hate about living where I live.
I'm familiar with.
We make it.
No, it's an effort.
That could be a commercial opportunity, Scott.
I got to stick to I got to stick to selling some vests. Dirk and I have our work.
Yes, but by the same token,
I know
you've already offered out part of your building to an enterprising vendor. All you have to do is find some guy who wants to establish an Indian restaurant. You've got the perfect place to do it.
I actually literally have a building with free available space, and I was looking for tenants. I couldn't find someone for free, so we signed a recruiting firm. 4 dudes. I mean, it's a weird economy that I'm offering. 2,500 square feet to coffee shops, workout people, and I couldn't find a good tenant.
But if it was residential, we would have had lines around the block.
Yeah, the residential market is
It's crazy right now.
Dirk, where would you want to go back to?
Well, I did have Hong Kong and New Orleans were the top of my list, but I think we've done both of them justice. For me, I've had 2 meals when traveling that I have chased, and they're kind of my unicorns. I've never been able to duplicate them. And one was about 20 years ago, somewhere in the Haight in San Francisco. I had a lamb burger that was the best burger I've ever eaten in my life. And I have gone all over the place. I've probably gone back to the same restaurant. I just couldn't tell you exactly which one it was. And I've never been able to duplicate that lamb burger that came from some dive in the middle of the Haight. The other one for me, this is what I pursue a lot, is there's a lot to be said about the Galapagos. But when I was there with my daughter about 3 or 4 years ago, the ceviche that you have there in these little crappy street markets, dirt roads, is the most incredible ceviche I've ever had. And I was out as recently as last Saturday night trying to find some really good ceviche. But that was the one that it was just, the seafood in the Galapagos is amazing, obviously. But the ceviche there was really, I don't think I'll ever find anything that will quite come close.
Well, what made it so good?
It just, well, first of all, I mean, let's be, both of these experiences were probably not just about the food. A little bit of this was, being in the Haight with friends I hadn't seen for a long time, having probably a little more of a good time than I should. I mean, the food is an important part of it. It's like New Orleans. New Orleans has great food. Hong Kong has great food, but you're having these in experiences that are really special and different. So it really, for me, and I'm not a gourmet, I'm kind of a big dumb animal. But for me, when you need to wrap the ambiance, the food, the drink can help. And the Galapagos is just such an amazing place, and you're beautiful, and it's dirt roads, and it's incredibly pristine. And I suspect that's what made the food taste as good as it did.
Well,
Hey, Dirk, do you think that place is still open?
Which place?
The Lamburger place. I live in San Francisco, so I want to go check it out.
So this was, I think I've been to the same restaurant 3 times. And I think it was a degrading quality level, all 3 visits. So again, I suspect, I think it is still open. I could not tell you the name of it, and I haven't been there in probably 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Did you just stumble into it, or how do you?
No, I had friends. I had a friend who lived right above up the hill in the Haight, and I used to visit him on a regular basis. And those tended to be later evenings and longer weekends.
But what you're saying is there was
I didn't stumble into it. I was led into it, but there might have been some stumbling involved.
So you're saying there was a degrading quality level, but an increasing blood alcohol level.
I think, again, Spud, life is about achieving a balance. And if you see the balance of, it's sort of like playing darts. Like there's a drink level when you're really good at darts and pool. There's a drink level where it all kind of comes together perfectly.
You log it so that you know where it is, so you can hit it.
No, it's just you're smooth, you're easy, and then you start throwing darts into the guy next to you. So I think it's a real balance question for me personally, Spud.
Anyone who wants to jump in, this is just for those of you who are new, and there's several people are. This is not a structured environment here. So anyone wants to jump in at any time. Otherwise, I'm going to call on you.
The pressure on.
Sydney.
Actually, I'll throw out.
Yeah. Who started?
We have a voice.
Sorry, that was me. I'll throw out a sub-question related to your comment. Where have you found the best burger in your travels?
Ooh.
Oh.
Amber?
Wow, that's a really good question. It's funny because I find if I think about my travels, I probably don't go for burgers if I'm being totally honest, because maybe burgers are something I would see as more of something I would eat here at home. And so, yeah, I don't have a perfect answer for that, but that is a really, really good question. Because I do like
true. When you travel, I don't go.
Yeah.
I've eaten McDonald's elsewhere, but I won't
go.
go. I won't eat a burger elsewhere.
Yeah. Never go to France and order a burger, but on the other hand, I don't know why. I guess just because it's something that's so common in this part of the world.
Well,
Hey, Scott?
There's something to be said about the presentation and how it's, for lack of a better word, packaged. To answer the question I posed, there's a restaurant in Manhattan. It's a French restaurant called Pergola des Artistes. They have a French onion soup burger on the menu. Now, a burger on its own, ordinary, dime a dozen. A French onion soup burger, in this particular case, I had it twice, and both times I thought I heard angels singing in the background and the heavens opening up in front of me, and it was basically just that salty, fatty, 3-napkin mess of goodness that makes me long for the days of pandemic to come to an end. So, you're absolutely correct that a standard burger with tomato and maybe some ketchup and onion on a bun, that's nothing much. It's when you find those unique combinations of things that make an ordinary thing extraordinary. That's what I'm
put a link into a Zips Cafe in Cincinnati is the best burger in the entire world. So you find yourself in Cincinnati after the pandemic, which I'm not encouraging you to go for your first trip necessarily. Make your way to Mount Lookout, order a Zips burger. It's unbelievable.
We tried to go to what was one of the best burgers on the Food Network.
Oh,
so it's in some middle of nowhere town in Idaho. I mean,
here.
It's that one in Fairfield.
Yeah, I drove there.
Well, we started to go. Was it for your birthday or something? But this passenger seatbelt in his car was broken, and I was the passenger. And we're like driving out of town. We're both having this really uneasy feeling, and like I have no seatbelt. And finally, we both at the same time said it, like, because it was like a 40-minute drive. And so I never got to taste this burger that they actually talked about in the Food Network.
I've eaten there.
It's most you said it was really good too.
And just imagine this. I don't know if you can envision this, but Lars with a broken seatbelt, it wouldn't go in, so she's just holding it. Like somehow holding it in an accident. So,
yes,
but you didn't let her drive, Scott.
No, that's a mistake.
So the best burger in the world is easy. The best burger in the world is a Big Mac on your second Friday in Tokyo after eating Japanese food for 2 weeks.
Okay, I have.
Diana's got one.
All right.
I have a burger story. I had been in Southeast Asia, which is probably my favorite place to travel. And we were in Burma on a boat for several days. And this was after being in Vietnam and Bangkok. And so we were on this boat. The food, I got tired of Asian food, like you do get tired of it after a while. And we get to this hotel late at night, and they said the dining room is closed, but everybody ordered room service. So I ordered a cheeseburger with lettuce, tomato, and pickle, grilled onions, and French fries and ketchup, and a Diet Coke. Well, I didn't know if that was going to come. And they brought it about. I felt dirty, filthy. I took a shower. I felt good. They delivered my burger. It was beautiful, and I'm eating it, and I thought there's something missing. And I took the bun apart. Everything was in it except the hamburger, which was. But I still enjoyed it because I had French fries. And
Diana, there are parts of the world where that's a win.
Yeah, well, I think with win in Burma.
Yeah. The other end of the spectrum, Diana, is Australia, where if they ask you if you want the works, well, we were traveling around Port Lincoln on the Eyre Peninsula, and I wanted a burger, and they said, "Do you want the works?" And I figured that means lettuce, tomato, the whole bit. No, that stuff comes automatically. What the works means is another slab of ham and a fried egg and some bacon on top of what you already have as a burger. It's like, how, I could literally feel my arteries starting to harden just looking at it. And so,
The fried egg is really good.
But my favorite burger is actually at a place called BJ's that's in Terminal 2 of SFO.
Really?
Yeah, San Francisco's airport. And I think it might be part of that whole, the situation helps dictate how you remember the food that, Dirk was talking about. Because I love Terminal 2. I was a total devotee of Virgin America. I'm Alaska now, but it all goes out of Terminal 2 in SFO. And there's a BJ's Burger there, which is a satellite of one that's in the Mission. And I have had the burger before every single flight taken there. It's become a ritual. If you look at my Foursquare from a while back, there's just this constant string of, I'm the mayor of that place. I think still. And, but it's the situation. You're about to go on a big, long trip. And even at 4:00 in the morning, that burger just tastes awesome. So that's mine.
So on the Foursquare note, I'm curious, is Amber still here? Yeah, I see her. Does anyone use Foursquare anymore? I mean, it was such a brilliant concept, and I can't hear you, Amber. You're not muted.
She's freezing up.
Yeah.
She's frozen. No, she's not. She's alive.
Amber, you're breaking up pretty badly. I don't know if it's your bandwidth or.
Well, we'll wait when we see her moving at normal speed, because right now it's like a time lapse.
So, Sydne, I had called on you previously, and Robert, get ready because you're next, and it better be a good one. Sydne, you're up.
Okay, we have too many projects going here, but if we're sticking to hamburgers, I'm going to shamelessly promote a hamburger place in my hometown called Utro's, UTRO''S. It's owned by a longshoreman who started cooking for the longies and the fishermen in our area because we're on the port of Los Angeles. And they just make these great burgers from scratch. Big burgers, great French fries.
Lots of stuff on them.
You bite the hamburger and it works its way down your shirt, but very, very good. And a family-run business that we like to encourage.
Now,
so that's good.
Now, how about non-burger? Where would you go to eat?
Relating to our original topic or in San Pedro?
Original topic.
Okay.
Yeah, anywhere in the world.
So we
could eat just for the cuisine.
Okay, for the cuisine, we would eat in Italy and France, but Italy, we spent 2 weeks there traveling in little tiny burgs, and I never ate anything that I didn't like. But going back to the wine issue, when I was jet lagged when we arrived in Rome, we bought a bottle of red for less than €2 that I thought was one of the best wines I'd ever taken. So It has to do with where you're at and what you're doing. But our favorite place, we went to the Gran Sasso Mountains, going from Rome to Giulianova, which is the East Coast. And we went to the Ristoro, I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Chianti.
That's
And-
cool looking.
Okay, well, wait, I got to get to, it's like a deli, and you go in and you buy your, you buy lamb skewers, and you cook them on these barbecues, which I'm working at finding here. Hold, please. And of course, I'm not finding it because I'm doing it
Maybe
quickly.
you went the wrong way.
Well, while you're looking for it, does your husband share in all your opinions, or does he speak for himself?
This is Pete, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you
your
share in my
friend.
opinions?
Yes.
Of course he shares in my opinions.
Yes.
Who are you?
We ate a lot of interesting places because the trip, we started in Rome, went to Giulianova, and then with some friends migrated all the way up into northwestern Italy along the coast, and then into France, and then up to Paris, and then ultimately into a little bit of Germany before we returned back to Bergamo in Italy. But yeah, I mean, this was an interesting place because it was out in the middle of nowhere. It's the middle of the Italian peninsula in farmland, and you've driven for hours, and you'll drive for hours afterwards without seeing anything but rolling hills and farmland.
Oops. Agreeing. So I don't know if you can see it, but see the little, it's a skinny barbecue pit. You would take
hold
your
it still.
Okay.
Oh yeah, now I can, yeah.
Yeah.
It was about 6 inches wide, and you took your skewers of prepared lamb, and it's old lamb. It's nothing like lamb we can get in California. And they said it's aged. So you would just barbecue your own. We had French fries there. They had great local cheeses, you know, sheep's goat meat, sheep, goat cheese, and wine. It was a beautiful experience. And we were with 8 people that we were traveling in a little van, and we still liked the people we were traveling with. So it was really, really good. So that's my experience.
I can actually, the way you described that food, I can actually taste it. And it's almost dinner time, and I had some appetite enhancers.
It was good. I would recommend it.
Robert, you got a good place?
Oh yeah, well, mine's in Brazil, and the food there was just incredible. When I came back, I went into withdrawals because I missed the food so much. The farofa, we stopped at this little restaurant on way back to São Paulo from spending New Year's at the beach at a friend's house there, and they bring the meat right to your table, and they carve it right there. And all the food there was just incredible. I would go back there, except it's a COVID hotspot, and they have an idiot running the country like we do. So it's not safe to go back to Brazil, but the food there was incredible. The farofa, and then they have a drink. I forgot the name. It's called Guanara. And I've gone to Brazilian restaurants up here, and it's just not the same. I mean, it was just, like I said, literally, I went into withdrawals. And as far as hamburgers go,
I mean, I've been to a Brazilian steak joint, and I was for the first time in Chicago. Diana, you know where it is on, I think, Wells Street.
It closed.
Exactly. So what was the beef better? Was the atmosphere, or was
it was the I don't know what the seasoning they used down there. I don't know if it's a combination of garlic but and the farofa was so good. It was all good. We had pizza at one place with some friends, and it's all so different from here. It was just really good. And I don't know if Sydne, have you ever been to Fat Burger?
Yes,
that's
Fat
my
Burger
favorite
is
burger
very
up
good.
here.
But according to Anthony, I'm going to jump in. According to Anthony Bourdain, when he was still alive, he would never leave Southern California without going to In-N-Out Burgers.
Oh,
they're just okay. They're so overrated.
Yeah.
I mean, what is with you people?
Fat Burger? I hate when they just throw a leaf on the hamburger. They dice their lettuce, they dice their onions. You can have exactly what you want on it, and the flavor and the meat. But Fat Burger up in LA is my favorite. That again, nothing compared to the Brazilian food. I think just thinking about it, I'm getting withdrawals again.
Now, a good Brazilian restaurant is worth money in certain parts of the country. I've had Rodizio in the Ironbound section of Newark. There have been times when I thought I would just pass out from a food coma. So I second those sentiments, Robert.
Oh yeah, but when you're in the country down there, oh, it's unbelievable.
Neal, we haven't heard from you. Where would you introduce yourself and unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about, you and where you travel back to just for the cuisine?
Well, there's three burgers and so I got burgers in my mind right now.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, perfectly.
So there are three places. And if we're going on to the burgers, I would go to Split's Burger in Whistler, north of Vancouver, where I am right here. And they have something called the legendary stacker. It's about that high.
You're on mute, I believe. You muted yourself.
It's just bandwidth.
Sorry.
You've got really bad bandwidth.
So can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, we can hear you much better now. Yes.
Okay. So at Split's Burger in Whistler, there are two burgers. There's the legendary double stacker burger, and there's also the poutine burger. So imagine a regular hamburger with poutine slapped on top of it. And it was a Spud who was mentioning that it was he's got his artery hardening burgers. Well, this is the one for Whistler, but it is so good. So whenever we go to Whistler, if there's any excuse to go to this Split's Grill, we'll go there. In terms of traveling,
let me
my
pause
absolute favorite
second,
place.
because I noticed something that needs to be called out. The moment you said the word poutine burger, everyone, like Amber's like, oh, I think Spud started salivating. I'm like, oh, give me some poutine. So it was hilarious.
I was just laughing because it's so Canadian that is the mention, right? Because if you think of Canada, sorry, not to interrupt you, Neal, but if you think of Canada, there's really no Canadian food but poutine. I mean, that's really what people know, even though obviously we're a very diverse country and very multicultural. That's the food you think of. So of course it would be a poutine burger.
Raise your hand. How many people thought of poutine as Canadian? One. Oh, no. Spud.
Oh, okay.
I had no idea. That it would. All right, go ahead, Neal. I sorry, I couldn't help. Neal, are you with us or against us? You're frozen, Neal. We lost part 2 of the story because I needed to call out.
Not too much. How are you doing?
I think
Hey,
Josh had something, by the way.
Josh, you have something?
Good to see you again. What time is it,
spent
Josh?
2 weeks in Italy and a couple nights in.
It is a novel concept.
Who's talking? I'm lost. Okay, Neal, you've been muted. So for some reason, try talking again, Neal. Hello, Neal. Earth to Neal. Neal.
Can you hear me now?
Neal?
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. So
there we go.
We can hear you. Finish your story. I apologize.
Okay. So I was in Genova, Italy, with my family, and it's the birthplace, apparently, of pesto. And we had the best Italian pasta there with homemade pesto sauce, and another restaurant. We went back twice just for the fettuccine Alfredo.
Oh.
So if I had the opportunity to go back there, I would.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
That's absolute favorite. And also, runner-up. Yeah, runner-up would be Buenos Aires, San Telmo district. It was a carne asado. It is a similar type of the Brazilian barbecue. They just kept on bringing on the meats. and it was amazing. The salad that they brought was basically tomatoes and chopped onions, so it wasn't really that much, but the variety of the meat and the spicing was absolutely amazing. They have a sauce in Argentina called chimichurri sauce, and it's served with all the meats, and it was just magnificent.
So Neal, you're new to this group. How did you find that?
That's my.
Are you a
What's that?
customer or the newsletter, or how did you find the Zoom link tonight?
Oh, you sent it to me because I was on the Zoom for the medical devices.
Oh,
I'm the ostomy nurse.
You got a
Neal's
freak.
a nurse.
Oh my God! I did not recognize you with that.
Do you remember about a month ago?
I'm an idiot. All right. I'm sorry. No, you look different. So. All right, Josh. Let's hear. Where were you? Unmute yourself and tell us where you were.
Hey there.
You got my haircut.
I'm back now. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, or almost 9 o'clock in the morning. I just got back. I left Tuesday morning, I guess. I was actually in Portland for quite a while. I had some unfortunate family circumstances happen and had to take care of all of that.
Is everything okay? Is everyone generally okay?
Well, yes. We actually lost my sister in August.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then 90 minutes into my flight back, we have the internet on the plane now. 90 minutes into my flight back, I got the message that my grandmother had passed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so here I am. We'll make it through, and I'm just ready to move on to 2021, honestly speaking. So
everyone.
Amen to that.
So nice to see you again too, Diana. Hi. For those of you who don't know, I've been on a few of these. Usually it's the middle of the night for me, so thanks for doing one a sane hour for me. But yeah, I've been a customer for 10, 15 years anyway, and I have various and sundry products in my closet. But it's interesting and I got on late, apologies. But it's interesting to hear you're talking about Italy in general. So I've got an Italian food one, but that's in California. But I'll go in order. Burgers. I just had one the other day in Portland. It's a local joint. There's 2 or 3 locations. It's called Killer Burger. And the default is bacon. You don't have to ask for bacon on the burger. Every burger comes with bacon, default.
That's a good default. The bacon should come on top of everything.
Right, and they've got everything from peanut butter, mayonnaise, pickle burger to the spicy one to the farmer burger with egg and everything else. And it's really, really good. Oh, sorry, default is burger and fries, of course. So, yeah. That's awesome, Scott. Now you're just blended into the.
Exactly.
You like that?
That's interesting. That's really cool.
It's probably a good time. I know we're just a few minutes.
Josh only got his first food out.
Oh, get your second food out.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got a second, and then actually my Italian one. Okay. So my second is actually here in Japan, but it's in Sapporo. So it's actually a 90-minute flight away, and it's the regional specialty of the island of Hokkaido, and it actually draws from the Mongols. It has a real historic significance in terms of what the dish is, and it's modernized to now. Hokkaido is where they raise a lot of lamb. Actually, it's funny that whoever was it Sydne? Were you mentioning lamb? Yeah. So they grow a lot of lamb there, and they call it Genghis Khan, which is a Japanized version of the name Genghis Khan. And they eat very thinly sliced lamb, and you cook it yourself. That's one of the things I love about Japanese cooking, is a lot of it is very social, and you cook it yourself at the table. So this is no exception, where you have this dome-shaped grill that is reminiscent of the domed metal helmets that the Mongols wore. And the Mongols would use those as cooking vessels or surfaces, because they would heat the helmet, and they would cook their meat on the helmet. So the Japanese cast iron grill mimics that helmet shape, so it's domed, so the fat drains to the bottom. So you cook the lamb on the domed part, and then on the bottom where the grease drains to, you have onions and carrots and green peppers and bean sprouts and all these vegetables that then fry in this lamb drippings, and then you eat it with a very special sauce, and then Japanese rice, and of course ice cold Japanese beer. And I would travel from almost anywhere to get that because that seems to be the only place that you can get it done properly.
That sounds good.
And I'll tell you how long I've enjoyed that dish. I originally ate it for the first time when I was 16 years old, when I was here as an exchange student, and that was more than 20 years ago. Actually, it was closer to 40 years ago.
What's it called again?
It's called Genghis Khan, but it's the Japanese version of Genghis Khan. So if you just spell it with the J, just like it sounds, J-I-N, Genghis, G-I-S-K-A-N, Genghis Khan. But that's the regional dish of Hokkaido, and it's just you can overeat it just because it's there.
That's awesome. I want to give Laura an opportunity to talk about where she would go, and I want to promise everyone that we're going to end precisely on time, which gives Laura about a minute to
I
tell.
can be quick. So I've got two, but everything's from Italy. Scott and I were on we were hiking along the Amalfi Coast, and we flew into Naples to start, had the best pizza, best margarita, where it's the Homa, and pasta. And then for breakfast, there was like homemade fresh mozzarella. And then when we were out hiking, and this is a Scott one, not me, he was actually picking arugula off the ground while we were hiking, eating it fresh. And I think I think what it all had in common, Ellen, was amazing. It was all so fresh. And I think that's why the pasta and the pizza and everything was so good.
And I think it was a low expectations because Naples is where we kind of started to go elsewhere.
Yeah,
we're going to the Amalfi Coast, and so it was just it was a stopover. And
I would fly back for the pizza.
Just for the pizza.
And the pasta. The pasta was good too. We ended up on the way out, I think we ordered.
Yeah, we went back to the same place.
Another Italy one was with my mother, who I'm pointing at. She's up there somewhere. I was with both of my parents on a hiking trip. We were near Siena, I believe. It was Christmas. It was very cold. And while we're out, it was with a group, and a storm started coming in. It's like winter, hideous. So they get the van to bring everybody back to the hotel because it was kind of dangerous at that point. But there weren't enough seats in the van for this like 2-hour drive. And I was one of the two youngest people, so they said the youngest people had to stay. And they left us with 2 bottles of wine, no glasses, they did open them. So basically in the sleet turning to snow in the woods in the middle of nowhere with 2 bottles of wine until they finally came back and got us. By the time I got back to the hotel, I was so sick. I mean, like, could not get out of bed sick. So my mother went to get me what I wanted, which were my absolute favorite cookies from this part of Italy, and they're amaretti cookies. And she goes down to the corner bakery, and she comes back with a very small bag.
Sounds too small.
It was very small. And I'm like, what am I cooking? And I was like, why is the bag so small? And my mother actually says to her daughter, who'd been left out for like 4 hours in a blizzard with a bottle of wine, well, they were really expensive. I was surprised. That was it, but they were the best cookies. And I could even taste them through the colds that I could barely taste anything. I've learned how to make them since then. So I actually have them here in Idaho.
Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up. I didn't get a chance to update people about the mask, but I'm going to tell you it's awesome. Thank you, Dirk and team. Thank you, everyone who's contributed. Amber, we're going to send you one to review.
Yeah, what are they? Are they the...
It's a gator.
Oh my God! It's more than a mask. It's for
like
the
pandemic
statement. And beyond. Yeah, well,
it's I mean, all right. Here, I'm going to talk about.
No, that's all my husband wears. That's why I was asking. I couldn't really see, but that's all he wears is for his masks. And I mean, it's good to have. I don't even know where he gets them.
It's got a filter here. It wraps into itself into a pocket. It's got a separate pocket here for a credit card. It's got a bungee cord to make it tighter. If you it's got a nose thing. It's got a straw holder here. And here's the cool thing: if you're walking down the street and want less restriction on your breath, You just go here, and now it's the most comfortable variation, anything. So it's kind of, think of, if SCOTTeVEST were to make a mask, we just did. Boom.
So
Mic
awesome.
drop.
Congratulations. That's really
What's the retail cost going to be for it, Scott?
They are 44.
But there are lots of $15% coupons and 20% coupons
we'll
out
have the
there.
introductory
And
special.
and it's not intended just for the pandemic. It's intended for California
I
fires. the
tried it in
wind-
the smoke. It helps with the smoke. If you're fly fishing and all the little gnats and bugs are getting in your
dirt
face.
biking. It's a post-pandemic and pandemic.
Yeah, and a lot of those, that same design that you get online, because they're just cheap, kind of coming from China, really thin. What my husband's finding is that they're not stopping much because the material's really, really thin. So the $15 ones, they're not great. So it's nice to see something better quality.
Yeah, it's intended to be, an article of clothing.
And it's got the layered fabric within it, and then the slot where you put the filters, you can actually layer more than one filter if you want to make it as,
And
What's
it
the
wraps
material?
into itself with a bungee cord thing. And
It is called, bamboo charcoal.
oh, is it?
Yes.
That sounds fancy.
I know.
That
It
is
is, and I
awesome.
read how they do it. They burn down the bamboo into char, and then they somehow take the ashes and spin it into fabric. I Googled it so many times because I couldn't believe it was actually.
Is that the same process for the bamboo polos?
I don't think there's because this is called
That's-
bamboo charcoal,
that's-
whereas that is.
That's probably different. The bamboo polo is a chemical
similar
breakdown.
to make it into a textile.
Does that have a clip on it? Is that what
Yeah.
So you can hook it on.
Would they fit for kids, I wonder? Or because my son's in school, but he has to wear a mask every day, and it's going to be winter soon.
Yeah,
We have a smaller
the small
version.
one. We're actually working on the sizing on that right now.
Okay.
And getting the measurements for the product page.
So anyone, we're gonna send one to you, Amber.
We don't have any yet.
Yeah, we don't have any. We're just making a few, but they're freaking awesome. And here's the cool thing: they were designed right here in an environment like this. Just talking about ideas. Dirk came up. This was sourced, as crowdsourced as an idea a month or two ago, and here it is.
Yeah, I was on a couple of those calls.
Yeah, no, it was really helpful. Now I think we're gonna have to crowdsource the best burger recipe.
And the JDRF, which I'm not allowed to say, announcement is coming soon. So
your time is up.
Scott, check your messenger from me.
all right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
We
you.
might take next Thursday off.
But
and
please,
It was
email
good meeting you all.
This was an amazing one, Spencer. Thank you.
Glad to be able to help.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye,
Take care,
guys.
everyone.
Good night.
Thanks
Bye,
for
guys.
joining.